The Newsday continues here on One News Now. I'm Diego Castro. President Bongbong Marcos told world leaders in Davos that he believes globalization will prevail despite recent tensions triggering protectionist tendencies in some countries. Gerard de la Peña with the story.
On the first day of the World Economic Forum, President Bongbong Marcos was the first one to share his thoughts about the main theme of this year's forum, which is prospering in an era of geopolitical tensions. In his speech during the welcome luncheon, President Marcos said nations should never be made to choose between two warring factions like what happened during the Cold War between the US and Russia.
I think we are determined as a group in ASEAN and in the Indo-Pacific, despite all of this conflict, we are determined to stay away from that. And simply because we are anchored in the idea that the future of the Indo-Pacific, the future of Asia-Pacific, for example, cannot be determined by anyone but the countries of the Asia-Pacific. And that removes us immediately from that idea that you must choose. We choose our friends. We choose our neighbors.
Kevin Tan of Alliance Global expressed the same sentiment.
That the Philippines is really a friend to all, no? And that we're not necessarily leaning more towards the West or the East, and that we're very, very balanced in where we are positioned. And I think that's the right strategy.
The president also said that the recent events, such as the COVID pandemic and the aftermath of the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, brought out the tendency of nations to protect their own interests. But he said he believes that globalization will still prevail in the end. To recall, on his way to Davos, the president made the remark that he is willing to throw his support behind Ukraine, but he clarified that the Philippines is only supportive of any effort towards peace. During the same welcome luncheon on Monday, Finance Secretary Jokno also hinted that the president is likely to announce the country's GDP growing by around 6.5% last year, which hits the lower end of its target band of 6.5 to 7.5%, mainly due to the global economic slowdown. But Jokno said this is already one of the highest, if not the highest growth rate in the Asia-Pacific region, as the Philippine economy is supported mainly by the manufacturing sector, record low unemployment, and resilient banking system. He also said that the government has created an enabling environment for public-private partnerships to support its infrastructure push. The government is also looking forward to discussing the proposed Maharlika Sovereign Wealth Fund to the international audience during the next few sessions at the WEF. The president previously said he is also looking forward to informal talks on the forum's sidelines. The WEF is scheduled to host a country strategy dialogue for the Philippines, where our delegation will be given the opportunity to promote the Philippines as a leader and driver of growth and a gateway to the Asia-Pacific region. There will also be a bilateral meeting with the International Monetary Fund, as well as a meeting with the logistics firm. For News 5, Gerard de la Peña, we are One News.
Business and government leaders joined the first family at the World Economic Forum in Davos. 7 of the country's top business leaders are in attendance, including Sabine Aboitiz, Kevin Tan of Alliance Global, Jaime Zobel de Ayala, Lance Gokongwei of JG Summit, San Miguel Corporation's Ramon Ang, Tessie C. Coson, and ICTSI's Enrique Razon. Also joining the president are House Speaker Martin Romualdez, former President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, Senator Mark Villar, and Congressman Sandro Marcos, along with other cabinet officials and lawmakers. All in all, there are 18 persons on the government's official delegate list. We will be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. You're still watching One News Now. I'm Diego Castro. President Bongbong Marcos defends the Agriculture Department's decision to import onions. The president, who also stands as agriculture chief, says the government was forced to import onions due to local supply problem that pushed prices to skyrocket. The president also acknowledged smuggling problems in the country and proposed digitalizing customs transactions to address the issue.
May nagsasabi din, yung onion hindi kailangan mag-import. Paano naman hindi tayo kailangan mag-import? Tignan mo yung production ng Pilipinas, tignan mo yung demand, malayo talaga. Sinubukan natin na makuha lahat ng mga smuggle, pero kulang pa rin kasi hindi rin natin nagamit yung smuggle. So talaga, we are forced to import. So that's what we are doing.
Aside from smuggling, the president also said the administration is looking for ways to improve local production. This so the country can stop relying on imports amid supply woes.
We have to go back to the onion growers and help them para magkaroon tayo ng production. Hindi na tayo kailangan mag-import. Diyan tayo naiipitin, nasanay tayo masyado sa import. So import lang tayo ng import, di natin inaayos yung production side. Kaya nung tinamaan tayo ng pandemya, ramdam na ramdam natin.
Is the Philippines really forced to import agricultural products, as what the president says? Let's talk more about that with Raul Montemayor, National Manager of the Federation of Free Farmers. Good morning, sir. Sir, your audio, you're on mute, I think.
Okay, sorry. Yeah,
Yes,
good
sir.
morning. Sorry for that.
Yes, sir. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Yes.
Yes, sir. I would like
Yes.
to ask now your thoughts on the president's statement. Is the Philippines really caught in a tight spot that we're forced to import agricultural products?
Well, in the case of onions, on an annual basis, kulang talaga yung supply natin against yung demand. No? So, there is no question that we have to import at some point some onions to supplement yung local supply. Ang problema yung timing niyan. No? Because if we import at the time that farmers are harvesting, unang-una, it's not necessary because the supply is coming in already. And second, it will impact on the prices that are received from farmers now. So it has to be managed well in terms of timing, in terms of the volume. We have to make sure that the imports are also safe to eat and also will not harm local plants and animals. No? And we have to make sure that when the imports come in, let's say at a certain price, it will not be cornered again by traders who will sell it to consumers at a very high price. So,
Yes.
maraming consideration na dapat ayusin.
Correct. So you're talking about yung timing, no? And the harvest season, I think, is beginning. But the DA said that the importation won't hurt the farmers. What's your thoughts on this, sir?
Imposible because it will run right smack into the peak of the harvest season. No? I can understand the concern of the DA. The prices are very high for onion, so they want to find a way to bring it down. But what we are saying is by early February, even if the government does not import, the prices will already be much lower because the new harvests are coming in. No? And if you allow imports to coincide with that, kawawa naman yung mga magsasaka. No? That the traders will again take advantage of these imports to buy very low from the farmers. I-stock na naman nila yan sa cold storage and then they will wait again for October, November, December later this year and make a killing again by selling the onions at a high price. No? So we feel it's totally unnecessary at this point. No? And the government should focus instead, as President Marcos said, on helping farmers improve their production. And number two, making sure that consumers benefit from the low prices and prices are not manipulated again by traders.
Sir, the average Joe would like to find out if we import onions, technically the prices should go down. But you said with or without importation, prices is bound to go down by next month. When these two events coincide, how will this affect the overall price on the market of onions?
Well, at the farmer level, siguradong babagsak yan. Imagine, last year, some farmers in Mindoro were forced to sell their onions at only 8 pesos per kilo. And that is the result of oversupply. So we are already going into the peak harvest season. Then you make the situation worse by bringing in imports. I am sure the farm gate prices will be much lower than what it should be. No? Now, as to whether retail prices will go down also, it depends. No? Because again, if the traders see an opportunity to maintain retail prices at still a higher level, I don't think they will stop that unless the government is able to control that kind of practice. No? So, sigurado kawawa yung farmer, walang kasiguruhan na makikinabang yung consumer. And again, allowing imports when the local harvest is already coming in, it's totally unnecessary.
Let's talk about, sir, smuggling. There has the Bureau of Customs has been intercepting smuggled onions, smuggled sugar. Do you think there are cartels behind this, especially in the onion trade?
Oh yes, but alam mo yung nahuhuli is only a drop in the bucket. No? There are reports that what is actually recorded by the Bureau of Customs as coming in legally is only about 1/2 of the actual volume that is coming in of all products na. No? And in the case of onions, sa dami ng nahuhuli, it's very easy to understand that a lot of these onions are being brought in smuggled. No? Pero meron pang ibang problema sa importation. Hindi lang smuggling, because smuggling is talagang tinatago siya, no? Hindi pinapalusot sa customs. No? But there is also a big problem in misdeclaration and undervaluation of imports. No? So misdeclaration is they will say they are importing some other product, but actually ang laman ng container van is onions. And then undervaluation is they will say they bought the onions from China, let's say for 30 pesos per kilo, when in fact they bought it only for 20 pesos. No? In both cases, the objective of the importer is to reduce the tariff that he will have to pay to the Bureau of Customs. I think this problem in terms of lost revenues to government is a bigger one than outright smuggling. And it is not being attended to, no? Because it is less dramatic in terms of news stories when they seize smuggled onions. It makes a lot of noise, but the bigger problem, I think, is undervaluation and misdeclaration.
With all the problems, sir, that we are talking about now, do you think it's a high time that President Bongbong Marcos appoint a DA secretary?
I would think so. No, it's much day. Nung pumasok kasi when he assumed the DA secretaryship, he said there were two things he wanted to do. One was to review the programs and make them more effective. And number one was to reorganize the DA bureaucracy. No? From what we see now, there has been little that has been done on those two fronts. No? And we can understand he's very busy. No? He's not just the ex-secretary but also president. No? So I think now that he has shown the bureaucracy that he will indeed give priority to agriculture, he must now appoint somebody who can do the job as secretary full-time, no? So that he can attend to the many problems, not only in terms of policies and programs, but also the people within the DA. And that takes a full-time, it requires a full-time attention of somebody, a secretary.
Thank you for your time, sir. Raul Montemayor, National Manager of the Federation of Free Farmers.
Maraming salamat. Thank you.
And those are the top stories of the hour. Join us again at 9:45 a.m. as we continue to monitor the day's biggest stories. You can also catch One News on Signal Play. Register an account now at signalplay.com.ph so you can stream One News live anytime, anywhere. I'm Diego Castro. We are One News. All sides, all the time.